Hello everyone, welcome to 12 Bravo channel. Today I want to do as part of my vlog 2. So this is my second vlog video and I'm going to put up a vlog series folder in the YouTube channel. So look for that folder and click on it if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But today I wanted to impart some advice, and these are 5 pieces of advice from a 40-year-old. I'm over 40. I won't tell you exactly how old I am, but I'm in my 40s. But yeah, so let's get this kicked off. Number 1, resilience. All right, work hard on your resilience level. And what I mean by resilience is your ability to bounce back. Okay, when you think of a ball, you squeeze it down real hard and then you let it go and it bounces back to its original shape. Be like that. And what I mean is that when something knocks you down, be quick to get up and get that crap out of your mind. Okay. I've I've struggled with CPTSD for years, and some things that used to bother me a lot years ago don't anymore, and I believe that is because my resilience in those areas have gotten better. Okay, so like traffic used to really get me enraged. Like I used to be really, really bad in traffic, and I wouldn't travel during times, like during rush hour times, twice a day. I wouldn't travel during those times. I would completely avoid leaving my house at those times because that's how much I hated traffic. But as time went on, I realized that it's nothing that I can control, and I shouldn't let it affect my ability to leave the house just because there's a bunch of cars on the road. So I worked on it. And I think whatever ails you, if it's, you know, someone sliding you, let that slide off and walk away, you know? Just be resilient. And what I do, and I don't recommend this for everybody because it could drive you crazy, but I try to play the day's events out at the end of the day before I go to bed. It's not the greatest way to wind down, I'll admit, but I think about the things that I said, how I treated people, how I reacted to certain situations and things like that. And then I'm like, okay, how could I have made that better? In the Army, we called it an AAR, after action report. So, it's basically looking at what you did good, what you did bad, and how can we do better. And that's what you should do every day. Check yourself. Check yourself and build that resilience level so that you don't have a heart attack by the time you're 45, right? You want to live a good, long, prosperous life. Stay in your zen and fly straight. All right, that's number 1, resilience. I put that at the top because I think that by having a high level of resilience, everything else in life will start to flow for you. The less time that you struggle in here, the more time you're going to have to live out there. Okay? So don't let things or people live in your head rent free. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? It's all in here, your struggles. Okay? You may have some physical ailments, yes, or cancer, God forbid, or anything like that. Yes. But the majority of your struggles is here in your attitude and how you approach them and your resilience. So that's number 1. Number 2, money. Learn how to be a master of coin. Okay. I've made a lot of mistakes with money, a lot, repeatedly, several times over. Some of them the same mistakes because I learned the hard way. Okay. And unfortunately, I've had great minds teach me growing up, great people, professors, uh, people in my family, experts in industry, things like that. And I remember when I think I was like 20 years old or 21 years old, my general manager came to me and was like, hey, you need to start setting aside some of your paycheck to go into 401k. And was like, of course I like nodded to him, yeah, yeah, and I thought in my head, well, hell, that's my beer money. What the, you know what I mean? Like, no, but that was my 20s, right? So I wasn't prepared to hear the message. I wasn't ready to listen to that. Had I listened to that, I would be very wealthy today. But by my standards, anyways, very wealthy. And I didn't listen, and I made several mistakes along the way with money. And it wasn't until probably my late 30s that I started to kind of understand the relationship that I had with money and my issues. And I'll admit here in my vlog, I have a shopping addiction problem. I like to buy things, and not just for myself. Like, I'll be like, but yeah, I would wonder, like, oh, well, maybe my friend or my wife would like to have XYZ, and I would buy that for them. And then they would be like, why did you buy me a $300 pair of sunglasses? And my wife, she's like, it only makes me anxious to have these because now I have to like constantly be aware of where they are because I don't want to lose them because they're so expensive. That type of stuff. I have a shopping addiction. I just like to buy things. I got to stay off of Amazon. I got to stay off of Facebook Marketplace. I got to know myself and know my limits. And I got to check myself. That goes back to resilience. It goes back to number one. So, I know doctors that make $500,000 a year and live paycheck to paycheck. What is money to you? Money to me is freedom. Okay? Because the most important thing you have in this life that you can't get back is time. The most important thing that you can give to someone is your time. Because that's your life force. You can't get it back, right? So how much time do you want to have to do the things that you actually want to do, right? And the things that you want to do with your life will coincide with how much money you need, right? To have the time to do those things and to have the money to do those things, right? So, I've seen people retire in their 30s and they just live these simple lives. They buy a cheap car, small place, they don't eat out all the time. They cook a lot. They live simple lives, and they use their money, instead of having a fancy car and fancy house, they use it to travel or, just enjoy life. Even driving around the States, traveling in the States is fun. There's so much to see here. Obviously, Europe's great. I've been to Europe. So I lived there for 5 years, and it's great. So that's another place you can go to. I mean, there's so many places and things to do and see. But, if you do poor people things, you're going to stay poor. If you do middle class things, you're going to stay middle class. Okay? And poor people things are like, going to, payday loan or a title loan or a rent to own or whatever, right? And middle class things is like, oh, having a more car than I can afford, or just because you have the money for it in your bank account doesn't mean you can afford it. Okay? Because you got to think about what you're taking away from your future. If you're spending like $400 or $500 or more on a car payment, then you got to think about, and I'm saying this because obviously I don't know how much money you make. There's some 20 and 30-year-olds out there that are just banging out the checks, right? But, Susie gets out of college and she's like, oh, I'm embarrassed of my college car. So I got to buy this $35,000, $40,000 vehicle so I won't be embarrassed when I pull out places. Okay, think about what I just said, college car. Like, that is huge, will be a huge deal for people that live in third world countries. You have not seen poor until you've seen third world poor. Okay? Third world poor is a whole nother level. And these doctors living paychecks to paycheck because they got the Porsche, because they got the big house, they've got the expensive diamond rings and jewelry and all this stuff and big screen TVs and whatnot. And they're living paycheck to paycheck, working 80, 90 hours a week. They have no time. What do they take? 1 or 2 vacations a year? Oh, wow. Right? So to me, wealth is time, and quality time, right? There's a lot of people out there that don't have anything, that have nothing but time on their hands. They're not considered wealthy. But if you can live a good life and have a lot of time and find that balance, that's where you need to be, right? So that is my second piece of advice, is money. All right. 3, transparency with those closest to you. Build those relationships with those closest to you. Build them until they're like so strong that the bonds will be incredibly hard to break. And the way you do this is by being transparent with people, right? You can be honest without being an asshole. You can be tactical and courteous in your speech, which is the way you should always be, You should be courteous to people, like just saying whatever's on your mind. Like people have always said, oh, I like people to say whatever's on their mind. I don't see them as an asshole. It's honest. Like, no. People that just say whatever crap's on their mind have no tactic in how they speak. They don't care what they say and how it affects you. That is not smart. The smart thing to do is to be tactical, to be courteous, and to think about your audience and what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and, be transparent. Like if someone's doing something that I love, if someone that I love is doing something that I don't like, I bring it up right away, but I do it tactical. I do it courteously, right? And I also read the audience. That person might be having a shit day that day, so I might let it slide. I might be resilient and just not even mention it because they're having a shit day. I don't want to pile on to their shit, right? So that's what I mean. Transparency, building relationships, important, right? So far we have resilience, money, transparency. The fourth one is balance between self-care, play, and work. So self-care, I put that first because that is the most important aspect. The most important thing you can do with your time is self-care. All right. It's like that. It's like being on the airplane. Put your own mask on before you help someone else. You got to help yourself before you can help others. You got to build a solid foundation with knowing yourself, knowing your limitations, and working on your limitations, right? Building a stronger you. And the stronger you become mentally, physically, and I want to even throw empathy in there, empathetic wise. The stronger, more empathy you get too, the better person you're going to be, and the more you're going to be able to help others, whether it's through nonprofits, charities, giving your time, giving your money, things like that. I personally like to give my time, but that's where we should all be. Is we should get to a point to where we're wealthy with time, and we can use that time to empower and help others to get to where we're at. And that's what I plan to do one day. Is I plan to be a mentor and be like, hey, let me help you out here, right? With my time and my knowledge, my life experience. I've learned a lot about resilience. Went through a lot of hardships growing up and in my time in the Army and in my time out of the Army. So I've had to find balance. And number 4 goes directly into 5. Well, self-care, play, and work. What good is making $100,000 a year if you're working 80 hours a week? You have no time to spend it. You have no time to spend with the ones you love. I mean, that is slavery. It's not freedom. You're chained to work, and you're chained to these stupid things that you have to have. You don't need that Mercedes. You don't need that big screen TV. You don't need all this stuff if it's keeping you chained down to work. Now, if you're making really good money and you have time and you have a lot of stuff, that's great, right? But how much stuff do you really need? I used to think that, along with my shopping addiction, because I get that little, you know, serotonin kick when I buy something. Um, I used to think that having lots of things would make me happy, and it doesn't. It's just more shit you gotta look afterwards, more stuff you gotta dust, more stuff you gotta clean, yada, yada, yada. But going into number five, and I put this in there because it's very important to me, and I think you should make it a part of your life as well as meditate. I wholly believe in meditation. It has changed my life for the better. I do a form of meditation called transcendental meditation, and I will describe how I do it. I'm not trying to teach you how to meditate. I am not qualified to teach people how to meditate. But the form of meditation I practice is called transcendental meditation. And it's a little bit different in it is that you're not trying to force thoughts out of your head. Okay, you're not trying to quiet your mind. Well, you are trying to quiet your mind, but you're not like doing it forcefully, right? You're trying to slow down the world around you, slow down the chaos inside you, right? So, meditation is so important to me because I take 20 minutes every day and I, sit in a comfy chair somewhere. If you fall asleep, that's okay. That's what I was told. I learned from a guru. He was a MD, physician, who went to India and studied for months under this guru to learn how to teach transcendental meditation. So that's why I say I can't teach you. I can only tell you what I do. So I sit in a comfortable chair, usually in my office. I close my door at home, my office at home. I close my door and I make sure it's really nice and quiet. And I try to do it during the day sometime, not at night. I try to do it during the day so that the benefits will last me when I'm actually out among people and stuff like that. So the doc, we called him Doc, that taught us how to do transcendental meditation, also told us that it's okay to fall asleep. It's not the goal, right? Sometimes I kind of cheat and I meditate myself to sleep, you know what I mean? But that is not the goal to fall asleep. The goal is to stay conscious if you can. If you fall asleep, don't sweat it. But if you can, the goal is to stay conscious to reap the benefits of the meditation, right? For me. So I, sit there, quiet, relax, however position you're comfortable in, and relax. A mantra is usually given to you by a guru. So they will give you your mantra. I was given a mantra, and I repeat this mantra in my head over and over. And the how fast or how slow I go, or how many times I say it, what frequency, things like that, it changes. Sometimes I say my mantra with my breath as I inhale and exhale. Sometimes I say it randomly, And I catch myself a lot of times, I'll drift away from my mantra and I'll start thinking of things. And that's okay. Your brain's going to think. Trying to stop it. Transcendental meditation is effortless. Meditation should be effortless, right? So, transcendental meditation should be effortless, anyways. I don't know about the rest of them. But a thought comes in my head, I let it come. And then I let it go. And I return to my mantra. It's like steering this big aircraft carrier or something, right? You've got little adjustments will go a long way. And so like when I have a thought come in my head, I kind of nudge it just a little. It's effortless. and I return to my mantra. And I like to think of it as thoughts as logs on a river. You see them coming, you're like, oh, here comes a thought. You acknowledge the thought as it passes in front of you, and then you let it go as it keeps going down that river. Right? You let it pass. And I don't know how to describe it better than that. I think of this drawing that Doc put up one day, and he's like was likening the mantra to diving and surfacing, following the mantra in this circle in the water, diving, coming back to the surface, diving, coming back to the surface. You're following the mantra in your head, right? And the deeper you go into the mantra, the deeper into your consciousness you get and the more transcendence you have. And I know this sounds like a bunch of bullshit to some people, but our doc told us, he was a medical doctor, he's an actual physician. He told us that when you meditate like this, I don't know if it's true for all meditations, but for transcendental meditation, the blood flow in your brain actually increases. So there's a physical reaction to the meditation, and it's healthy for you. And I put it on my list because I think it's so important. It has become an integral part of my life. It is so important to take just 20 minutes out of your day. Get a meditation app. There's a bunch of meditations apps out there that'll, do a little chime for you to start, and you set it, and then it'll do the little chime for you to end. And let me tell you, when I first arrived to learn meditation, I hated it. I hated it. I could not stop the thoughts because I'm constantly thinking about everything. I'll jump around. I have ADD. I jump around all over the place, and so it was hard for me at first. But stick with it. If it's the same for you, if it's hard for you, stick with it. It is worth it. The more you do it, start with 10 minutes and then try and work your way up to 20. I think it's very important because it's healthy for you, and it gives you a time to reflect. It gives you a time to be alone and be with yourself, to be with your thoughts. And 20 minutes ain't shit. Rather than watching that stupid thing on Netflix, take 20 minutes out of your day and meditate. So I'm trying to think of what else. Any other kind of bonus content to impart wisdom. If you're married, don't go to bed mad at each other. That was a piece of wisdom that was imparted to me and that I've kept in my marriage for 18 years now. I've been married for 18 years. And I took that. Someone, he's kind of like an uncle to me, told me that. And I've kept it with me. I never let us, even when we were arguing till 4 a.m, not going to bed mad at each other. If you need to take a time out, take a time out, but make sure you come back discussing what you need to discuss. Right? Let me think of what else. Mental health. See the professionals. Trust me. And if the doctor that you see you don't like say if you're seeing a psychologist and you don't like them, then move on. I had to go through several psychologists and several psychiatrists to find a pair that worked for me. And this is over a number of years. So it was, I just don't stop. Keep moving, right? Stay busy, keep moving. Don't stop. It is worth the struggle. It's like going to the gym every day. Meditating is like going to the gym every day. You're working this muscle instead of this muscle. And so it's important. It's half of your body, on this physical plane is your mind. So you need to really take care of it. And mental health is so important. See a psychologist. We all have childhood trauma, all of us. We all have childhood trauma. You might look back and say, oh, my childhood was great. There's some things in there that bothered you. Maybe your dad didn't say enough nice things about you, or maybe your dad was hard on you, or your mom wasn't very loving, or whatever. We all have childhood trauma. So it might be good to see psychologists and talk things through. Have a impartial ear. You know, I know it's hard to do if you don't have insurance because they're not cheap. A lot of them are like $200 an hour. So I know it's I wish that you know we would have universal mental health care in this country to where anyone that needed a professional to talk to could have access to a doctor. But unfortunately, right now we don't have that. So a lot of people are out there struggling because they have no insurance or whatever. They got no one to talk to, and they're just out there struggling, and that really sucks. So, but anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. Those are my 5 pieces of advice for you. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I do consider myself a moderately intelligent human being, so I'll try to answer your questions in the best way I know how. And if anyone else has something to throw on the list on there, more pieces of advice from you more distinguished gentlemen and gentle ladies out there, heck, put it in the comments, throw it up, and we'll have a discussion. All right, guys, you stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my vlog, and take care of yourself. Okay, bye for now.